We could start a new one if there. Okay. We are actually live.
Yay!
Oh, your hair looks beautiful.
Thank you.
You're looking good. So I'm Becky Norwood with Spotlight Publishing. This is Charmaine Hammond, and Charmaine is a remarkable human being that I just adore. And she's done so many awesome things, from teaching how to do sponsorships to, I'm hearing my echo, teaching sponsorships, teaching all kinds of things about business. But she's doing a new program on how to use your book as a speaker and a business owner.
Yes.
And, you know, for myself, I work with many authors all the time. And the marketing, using their book as a tool for growth, business growth, is one of the most absolutely important things to do in order to be successful. So let's open the conversation, because you've created a course and you've done some other amazing things, and I'd like to hear more about it.
Wonderful. Yes. Well, we're super excited about your book as a business, and your book as a business is really created for authors who want to look at their book as a business, as a revenue stream, and to be able to actually create systems and processes to make it easier to sell larger quantities of books. And so we look at things like bulk buys, how to find sponsors to purchase your books in bulk and donate them to charities or organizations, give them away as employee gifts. We also look at how to double those book sales in events. So book signings, for example, how to go from selling the average, what is it they say, Becky, 8 to 12 books at a book signing? And half the people already have your book because of your family. But we look at how to amplify those book sales and how to double them through what I call a BOGO, buy one, gift one. So the program actually teaches the model around that. And we also look at sponsorship. You mentioned sponsorship a few moments ago, and sponsorship is a wonderful way for authors to look at not only increasing their impact, through their book, but also increasing their impact by bringing on corporate sponsors, cash and in kind, to help support different parts of the book and the book launch. And for authors who are wanting to do things like book tours, whether they be live or virtual. So the program is very rich, and it takes people right from making sure that you are making good use of your Amazon Author Central page to your Goodreads page to actually selling books in bulk and more than achieving your sales goals for your book.
That's awesome, because you know one of the biggest barriers to entry, there's a lot of authors that don't really initially even have a good following on social media. And you know, while I start working with them, the first words out of my mouth is, all right, we've got it. Marketing starts the minute you put pen to paper, because if you're not starting to use your social media and using all the tools that we so amazingly have at our fingertips, how do you get found? How do you get seen? How do you get read? And those are some of the main things that are just so incredibly important.
It is so important. And I think you and I have talked about this a lot, Becky, that one of the things that happens for us as authors, and I have been there, my first book is now 10 years old this year.
Congratulations.
And it's in its second edition. And I had no idea when I wrote that book that it actually takes a lot of effort to market and sell your book. And I remember the first time that my book was selling, it had been launched, it was a bestseller. And I thought, oh, this is great. I can just take some time off now from the whole book marketing thing. Well, I remember going into Author Central and no sale. It was the first time ever that I had not had sales every week. And so the big aha for me was, when you stop marketing, your book generally stops selling.
Yeah, and that's really bitter medicine for most of us. We know, because we think it's magic when you publish a book, and you know, the excitement of being able to be a #1 bestseller, and it's so thrilling. But you know, my question always is, if you're not going to do the marketing, why are you writing a book? You know,
It's true. Yeah.
because writing a book is not for the faint of heart.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
it's a lot of work. There's a lot that goes into it. Between the editing, choosing the book covers. That's the heart and core of it. But then building in the marketing that goes with it. If you're not going to do that, then maybe there's other ways you can share with the world.
Yeah, it's so true because it's sort. I remember thinking it's one of those. If you write it, they will come, and
Yeah.
it's not like the movie. If you build it, they will come. You actually have to be consistent and very strategic. That was one of the big learnings for me, Becky, is that the more strategic I was and the more focused on dedicated time to put towards marketing the book, I started to see huge momentum and traction. And our students see that as well because they're focusing, even if it's 15 minutes a day. Like a lot of people think, oh, I don't have all day to market my book. It doesn't have to take all day. It could be 15 minutes a day, but 15 minutes spent the right way.
Yeah. Concentrated effort.
Exactly. A great example, I was listening to a podcast recently about an author, a great interview, fabulous. Didn't mention her book more than once. Didn't talk about her book was sort of, it wasn't a title that would just land in my head. It was a fairly long title and didn't really talk about her book and didn't weave it in. So there was the mention of it in her bio. And then the podcast host said, where can we buy your book? And she just said Amazon and, didn't say her website or her title. And I thought, wow, there's people listening to this, on the gym and in their car and downloading it later from the podcast site. So even learning how to talk about your book on media in a way that doesn't sound salesy, and you're engaging those listeners to be excited about reading your book.
Very cool. So how do people learn more about this course and get to be a part of it?
Well, the course is available. We're going to be launching the website today, and I will get the website over to you. And the best way, I think, Becky, is for people in your community is for them to let us know that they heard about the book, Your Book as a Business, through you. I know we have a very, very special gift for everyone, a $500 saving. And the course actually starts in June. And let me just get the website for you as we're talking.
Well, I think I have it. Is it the Book as a Business?
Yep, bookasbusiness.com.
So how will they know to tell you that they came through Spotlight?
There will be a little drop-down tab that people can mention where they heard about it from, because we want to make sure that we can really support your audience. Becky, you do incredible work with authors, and we are, really, really deeply grateful for the work that you do. So we want to make sure that we are connecting your audience in our private Facebook group and all of the other bonuses that they will receive. So there'll be a drop-down menu and it will say, how did you hear about the program? And it'll say Becky's name and the business and you click there. And the other thing I should mention, this about me, Becky, because you and I have worked together on so many projects, but you and I have talked about what are all the reasons why authors kind of don't move forward on something? What stops them? And Rebecca and I, my business partner, and I started to look at that when we started working with authors. And with Your Book as a Business program, we basically took every sort of roadblock or hurdle. And these are all roadblocks and hurdles that stop me. So it comes from personal experience. And then we created a workaround. So for example, one of the reasons we hear that authors don't really seek out media, traditional media, TV, radio, print, magazines, is because they don't know how to get it. They don't know how to approach a TV station, or what do you say? Who do you contact? What is a press release? So what we do in the program is we actually give you our scripts and templates.
Oh, how awesome.
I know. So even on the live calls, when we're on the live calls with the participants, I'll model what a sample call to a TV station could sound like. And then in the follow-up notes and the notes package that they get, and they get this really, really detailed 365 tips. So you can do one tip a day. They all take sort of less than 15 minutes. And then they also get what we call the FAQ document, frequently asked questions. And in that document is all the sample scripts. How do I connect with media on LinkedIn? What's the exact wording that I use? And then we just give it to you. So that way you can dive into action instead of trying to figure out, how do I write that? And as well, press releases. That's another hurdle. People often don't submit press releases because they think, well, I've never written one.
How do I do that?
How do I do? What do I say? And we're so hard on ourselves, aren't we? When we write one, then we critique it. And it never gets sent. So we give you several templates of press releases that we know work. One of them is related to book signing events and book launches. The other one is related to an announcement, announcing that your book is coming out. Another one is if you're a speaker, we have press releases to announce a speaking engagement where you'll also be doing book signings. And then you can just modify them. So everything we have done is trying to make it super easy, remove the hurdles and roadblocks, so you can just get into marketing and selling your book and changing the world through your message. That's what really matters.
That's cool. So you're also doing I have my email open from what you sent to me. So you have a webinar that's coming up on May 13th to explain.
Yes.
So let me get that link here.
Yes. And let me tell you about that webinar where you're doing that. I'm really excited about this webinar. It's a free webinar to sign up for on May 13th. It's being hosted by Women Speakers Association. And what I'm delighted about is I'm going to be interviewing 3 other authors on this panel, and we'll be talking about how to make your book into a business, how to sell more books. I'm going to give you some sneak preview tips that you can put into action right away after the call around buy one, gift one strategies, just in case you're planning any virtual or future live events. And I'll also be talking about some simple strategies on how to find buyers who will buy your books in, say, quantities of 10, or maybe a box or a trunk load. What does the strategy look like? So we'll be talking about some real specific strategies, and then I'll be interviewing 3 authors who have used very different marketing approaches, very different approaches to media, social media, book launches, and you'll be hearing from them what worked and probably a couple mistakes they'll never do again. Because I don't know about you, but when I hear that people say, don't do this, that's the stuff I really want to pay attention to.
Well, that's the key, is understanding the logic behind it and the words to use. It's really, really important. So do they need to be a member of the Women's Speakers Association to be able to take?
No, they do not. For this special event, WSA, Women's Speakers Association, has opened this up. Typically, it's for their premier members, and they've opened this particular event up. So there's no registration cost, which is amazing. And then, of course, you don't need to be a WSA member. And I really encourage you to hop on this call, because I know just from the 3 people that I'll be interviewing, their path is so different in terms of what they've done. I'm going to share a little story about one of them who had a really cool thing happen with Amazon, sort of a surprise. Amazon marketed their book in a way that they didn't pay for. And
wow.
Exactly. And that's what we all want to achieve, is getting marketing support from Amazon and not necessarily having to pay for that. And the quick tip on that is be active on your Amazon page, on your Author Central page. But I'll talk a little bit more about what they actually did, and we'll hear from her what the impact was for her.
Wow, I want to hear this too.
Yes, it's one of those. She found out about it by accident. So those are the best ones.
Yeah, there's just so many things that we all can do. There's many, many authors out there now, and more every day that are deciding that's the way that they want to go. And yet some of the barriers to entry is just simply not knowing what to do about it. So this is going to kind of open the doors wide to find a better way to manage that. And for me, I have a lot of systems in place for my authors, but there's these other amazing little things that you can do to make it even more productive and more worthwhile.
Yeah. And you know what we found, and this is not a surprise to you, Becky, because you are exquisite at building community. You do that with your authors and you do it beautifully. That's one of the things that we thought we needed to bring into your book as a business is we know that when authors rally around each other, they become a not only an inspiration and a motivation for each other, but they almost become like accountability partners. We want to commit to what we say we're going to do because we have other people counting on us. So we're really building community with the authors. And what I am finding, we just wrapped up one class of your book as a business. And one of the big learnings for me was that the learning that happens from each other, because people will try different marketing activities based on where they live in the world, what their budget is like, what they've been trained by other consultants or experts, or what they've heard about on social media, and they say, I'm going to try that. So everybody's trying different activities, and sometimes they'll land really well, sometimes they won't. And when you have a community, you can bounce those ideas off people, and sometimes it will save you from very costly mistakes.
Right, absolutely. Well, we're excited to have this opportunity to be a part of it, and I'm going to be sending out using this recorded video, and I'll send it out to all my authors so that hopefully there'll be some of them that will take part in this and
Wonderful.
really reap the benefits of it. So I'm very excited to be able to connect with you. I know we've had some pretty cool connections throughout the years, and
We have.
I always love what you do. So it's really good.
Thank you, Becky. And I think, the way that you work with authors is so important for helping getting our messages out into the world, standing out above the noise, being known, but also having the readers of your book get to know the person behind your book. And that's one of the things I love about the way you work with authors, Becky, is because you do that. You help them get their brand out there as an author. It's not just about marketing and selling your book. It's about letting the world know who the person is behind the cover.
Oh, it's so important. And one of the things that I always encourage my authors is to use the QR codes inside the book to where they're reading the page. And now with the way the QR codes work, you just hold your camera up and it brings you to life. And, awesome. when I speak to them about that, they're like, what? And I said, well, they're getting to know you through the printed page, but sometimes it takes that connection. And if they found your book on Amazon, they're never been a part of your community. They don't know the other things that you've done to build. In the pages of your book, if you come to life then, and then there's a way for them to connect with you, then that makes that book as another one of those tools that you're using to grow your business.
That's a writer downer, everyone. That QR code, that's juicy.
Yeah, that works. So I've been working with a coach to kind of really fine tune my messaging, and I'm building a course too. I've got several courses, and so, using them for a lot of my authors, they get a couple of those courses when they sign on with me, because that teaches the other marketing things that you're teaching a little bit differently than I do. So I'm really anxious to learn how you do this. But one of the verbiage that my coach, when we were working yesterday, it says, I believe every human being has treasured gifts within them that the world is just waiting to hear.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
And when we worked through this whole process, there's going to be a lot more to it. I was like, yes, that's mine.
I love that. Wow.
Right.
That's a writer downer.
That is a big writer downer. And I think, our entire world has been shaken by by the coronavirus and the impact that it's having. And I feel this huge responsibility for those of us that have that in us to be leaders, and those of us that really want to stand up and lead by example, is that we need to share those gifts with the world. We need to stand up and let our voices be heard and let our words be read and make the impact that we can, because that's our responsibility. That's why we're here.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And we are living in a time right now where people are reconnecting with books. I can't tell you how many posts I have seen on social media just in the last 2 weeks with people sharing their reading list and the books that they've recently read, that they're getting involved in book clubs, which, by the way, is a marketing strategy we love talking about because that's a whole undertapped way to sell books in bulk in small quantities. And so the world is really craving content of all different kinds: fiction, nonfiction, educational resource guides, how to. So we are in a great time right now as authors to be able to get our content out there. And the other side of the coin as well is that we're in this time where people want to be really connected. And so as an author, this is a great opportunity to be put, as you said, Becky, is your words, putting yourself out there and letting people know the person who wrote this book or the person who is writing this book.
Very cool. Well, I am delighted to finally catch up with you again. I know there's been lots of busy things going on for both of us, and it's always so fun to be able to connect. And I will be sharing, for those that are wondering, it'll go out through my email broadcast and my blog and all my other social media type of things. It's just to support this and to really get the message out, because what you always teach is so valuable. I know when I had you come to Phoenix to speak to with our Seroptimus group, those ladies still talk about what
that was so fun. That was such an amazing day.
Well, you did amazing teaching, but they continually talk about it.
Wow.
It was what an impact that had on them. So, and several have taken it to heart and have done some really great things. I think our last big fundraiser, we brought in about 20,000. So it was like,
Great.
Just because they started applying some of this.
Right. And it it's not difficult to learn. That's what I love about this stuff. It's not difficult to learn. And once you learn it, it just happens over and over and over again.
That's perfect. That's awesome. Well, I'm delighted to see you again. And for those that are listening, we'll put some links. It seems to be a little bit glitchy here as far as the links. So I'll go back over to my social media and make sure all the links are in. And awesome. So thank you, Charmaine. I hope your weekend is awesome and that you're doing really good.
Appreciate it. Thanks for being such a champion for the authors, Becky.
Thank you. Thank you too. So end our broadcast, and we're